What the hell is vibe coding? Vibe coding is the new hotness right now. It's all over the place. Andre Karpathy talked about it. We got people from Y Combinator talking about it. People all over Twitter and LinkedIn are talking about it. Basically, what vibe coding is this idea that because LLMs are getting so good and because applications like Cursor are getting so good at what they do, that coders don't have to worry about actually writing code anymore. We can just let the vibes take us over, talk to our code editor, and let it do its thing and do create applications to code the way that it wants to. Super controversial right now. It's really funny to watch these comments of coders saying, let's see how vibe debugging works and all these other things. And I wanted to get into it a little bit because I have very strong opinions on this. And I think that both sides are kind of missing some nuance here. By the way, quick side note, if you are interested in vibe coding and coding with AI and AI engineering, I'm starting up a school community that's going to have a course dedicated to exactly those things. It's free for the first 50 people. Links down in the description if you would like to join and help me get that started up. Anyway, back to vibe coding. I do think that there's a pretty big paradigm shift happening in software engineering right now, especially with the rise of these LLM tools and everything. So there's a couple different ways that we can look at this idea of vibe coding. The first is that on one extreme, we've got people that are saying, you don't need to know how to code anymore. You can just tell the LLM what you want it to do, and it's just going to do it for you. And then when you get an error, you just tell it to fix the error, and you do this and rinse and repeat until you've got something that looks like it's working. On the other end of the extreme, you've got hardcore coders that are saying, this is stupid, this is ridiculous, this is a recipe for bad code, this is going to create some horrible, horrible apps, and we're just asking for trouble down the road when the stuff inevitably starts to break. And I kind of land somewhere in the middle on this. I get both points. I do genuinely think that LLM powered code editors like Cursor are going to completely change the way that people code. But I don't think that that in turn means that you don't know how to code. You don't need to know how to code to use them effectively. Actually, what I think is going to happen is that the people that already know how to code, that then figure out how to use these things effectively, those are the people that are going to really, be 10x or 100x more productive or whatever these buzzword numbers are that people are saying these days. So I do use Cursor as my go-to code editor all the time now. What I will rarely do though is I will rarely say, build me an app that does XYZ from scratch and let Cursor just go and do the rest. Sometimes I will for fun. But if I'm actually building something, even if it's a demo for like a tutorial or a video or something that I'm making, I won't do that. Instead, what I'll do is I'll have an idea of what I want to build in my head. I'll have an idea of the architecture and the setup, and I have these programming paradigms for whatever I'm building in my head, and I will just let Cursor handle the actual implementation of those details. So I might tell Cursor, I want to build a Pomodoro timer and I want it to be built with React and Tailwind, and I want to use this for state management and all these other things. I still have to know and have an idea in my head of exactly what I want to build for that to actually work. Otherwise, what happens is if you let Cursor completely handle everything, you're not going to know how it works behind the scenes, which again, for a little toy app and maybe even a demo, that's fine. But if you're actually looking to build real robust applications with Cursor, then you can't do it that way. Then you kind of got to bridge the gap here a little bit and learn to code using Cursor as a tool, but don't let Cursor do all of the coding for you. So when we're talking about this vibe coding thing, it is a really cool, really fun experience to be able to just talk to Cursor and tell it what you want to build and just type out and iteratively adjust. And these tools are getting better and better and better as time goes on. Cursor just came out with version 0.46, which has got their new agent mode. That's what I have up right now. That's what I'm working on something with it right now. And it's really, really cool to be able to work with the agent and have it lay out exactly what it's doing step by step. It's pretty good at giving you reasoning. It's even better now with Claude 3.7. And these tools are just going to keep getting better and better. But I don't think it negates the need to actually understand what it's doing behind the scenes, especially right now. Maybe that'll change someday. I don't really know. What I do think, though, is that I think that the people that are talking about vibe coding, I do think that they're onto something. So much so that I named the new course and community that I'm building after it called Vibe Coders. But what I don't think is going to happen, or I don't think the right way to approach this is just to go YOLO mode and just start thinking that you can build a real product just by doing this. Can you build something personal? Yeah, maybe. And this is the cool thing that I think a lot of these people are overlooking is a lot of the people that are criticizing this whole vibe coding thing, they're professional software developers. They do this for a living. They're probably working for a major company where they have to write code very intentionally. It has to be well tested. It has to be robust. But a lot of the people that are embracing this sort of vibe coding paradigm, they're not necessarily professional developers. They might be solopreneurs. They might just be people that like AI that want to build stuff for themselves. And that's totally fine. If you're a solopreneur that can now go out and spin up your own little custom product in 2 hours that just helps you with your personal stuff, I don't think most people realize how big of an unlock that is. Like, that's a huge deal. That's really cool. And if you are a professional developer and you already know how to code, and you learn how to use something like Cursor AI effectively, that can, I genuinely think, 100x your productivity if you practice with it and learn how to use it right. But so we've got multiple different people that this can be useful for. I do think that it's going to make coding much more accessible for people because, again, if you approach this the right way, if you use it as a learning tool, you can really skyrocket your productivity with how you're doing. If you want to start up a project with Cursor, if you have an idea in your head that you want to build and you don't know how to code, you can do one of two things. You can have Cursor just do it for you, and you can go with this whole, YOLO method where you're just telling it what to do, letting it handle the implementation details and debugging as you go. That actually works okay. But the problem with that is you don't know what you're ending up with. The other approach is you can go a little bit slower and you can build it a little bit more piecemeal, and you can approach it and treat Cursor as almost sort of like a tutor, you might say. So you can say, I want to build this, and I want you to build it iteratively, piece by piece, and I want you to explain what you're doing along the way. And then as it's explaining what it's doing, go and look those things up. So as it's saying, I built this with React and I use Tailwind and I use this for state management, go and look those things up and see what they do and start exploring the ecosystem of tools that are available to you, because that's how you're going to build this background knowledge of then being able to function as that orchestrator to be able to effectively tell Cursor the kind of stuff that you want to build. So I don't think this vibe coding thing is just hype. I don't think it's just a hype cycle. I also don't think that within the next 6 months, people are going to be able to stop knowing how to code and the LLMs will be able to do it all for us. 5 years, maybe. I don't know. This stuff's growing and improving like crazy. But right now, I do think that whether you or not you are a professional software developer, if you are able to start learning how to use these things effectively, and then also able to actually learn AI engineering concepts effectively, so learning tools like LangChain and being able to actually build uh, products and apps that use LLMs behind the scenes, I do think that you are then going to position yourself really, really well for a future-proof career, because I think the developers that know how to code and they actually can do that and also know how to effectively leverage tools like Cursor, I think those are going to be the ones that are going to benefit the most from this kind of new wave of coding that we're in. So that's kind of what I think where I'm at with vibe coding right now. My school community that I'm coming out with is specifically designed to help people learn exactly how to do this stuff. So I have things like a vibe coding 101 course and AI engineering 101 course, but it's really designed to help people kind of get out in front of this whole vibe coding paradigm shift or revolution or whatever you want to call it. Basically, it's designed to help you code more effectively with AI. First 50 members are free. Would love to see you in there. Links in the description. And I'm going to keep making a lot more videos digging into specifics of how to use things like Cursor, how to build apps with it, some AI engineering fundamentals, LangChain, Ragus, all that good stuff. I'm going to be making a lot more content on practical screen shares and everything on how to actually build stuff with it. So keep an eye out for those.